I started my first business at age 27, and for a while it was just me, my partner PJ, and a spare guest room that doubled as a makeshift office. I still think about those early days of my journey, and honestly, I look back at them very fondly. Along with the excitement and the novelty of starting something new, things were also a whole lot simpler back then. I didn't have a team to manage, I didn't have payroll to worry about, and frankly, I didn't even know how to onboard a team member, even if I wanted to. If you don't know the rest of the story, it goes something like this. We ended up growing that first business to become really successful in its industry, and we decided to have a go at then building, growing, and sometimes even selling businesses in other various niches. And ever since that first day in my apartment spare bedroom, I've maintained the idea that who you have around you, your team, your mentors, your partners, truly impacts the success of your business. So I want to take this opportunity to give you information that I wish I had when I was 27 years old, and when I first started to think about hiring a team member. Now, whether you're a solopreneur right now or you have a small team, this episode is about planning for growth, because it is indeed something that we need to plan for. It won't happen all by itself. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the HerBusiness Podcast. I'm Susie, and if you don't know, November and December are planning months inside the HerBusiness community. Planning is so important in every business, and there are lots of different topics under this area that could be their own episode. In fact, inside the HerBusiness network, we have hundreds of resources just for planning different parts of your business. Planning is one of the most important aspects of running a successful business, because without a plan, everything can feel just a little chaotic. And in the last few weeks, we've focused on the more logistical aspects of planning. So in episode 282, we talked about mapping out your 12-month roadmap, setting up your campaigns, strategic objectives, and goals for the year. Then in episode 283, we explored advertising strategy planning with Tina Hay of Puzzle Media, focusing on setting up your 2025 advertising foundation. But today, we're focusing on the people side of planning, because if you're ready to grow your business, it's not just about scaling your revenue or increasing the number of clients you work with. It's about building a team that grows with you. And even if right now you don't have team members, keep listening, because stepping into the role of a team leader is one of the most exciting and, let's be honest, intimidating milestones in a business journey. So we're going to break down how to plan for growth, going from a solopreneur to a team leader, by breaking this down in two parts. First, we're going to talk about the different levels of business and what steps are going to get you to the next level. So maybe you're a team of one and you're doing it all yourself, wearing all the hats, or maybe you have a small team that supports you in some tasks and you have a little more leverage, but you're still very involved in the day-to-day. Or you might be at what we call the entrepreneur level, where you are managing a full team, you're very leveraged, and you're able to focus just on those high-level tasks. So we'll get into these three types of businesses and talk more about what you want to grow towards. Then in the second half of the episode, we're going to be talking about the actual strategies, the logistics, and the mindset you'll need to attract and manage and keep your ideal team. So we'll talk about how you can become the best boss, the best leader, and be equipped with the right skills to direct a team of people. And by the end of the episode, you will have a roadmap to help you navigate getting into the next level of growth, whatever that is for you. So let's get into it. So I want to start this episode by saying that my goal right now is to move you further and further down the path that you want to be on. And I'd like you to imagine the path ahead a little like this. So on one side, imagine the very beginning of the path is you as a solopreneur. And then on the other end of the path is a full-scale business. And what I mean by that is there's a big team business. Now, there's a lot of places and spaces on the path along the way there, and you can slowly take the steps you need to go just as far on that path as is right for your business. And each step of the path might be your final destination. You may not want to get right to the end of this path. So maybe you're a solopreneur and you'd really like just a few people on your team to help out, but you don't have an interest in managing a massive business. Or you might be saying, yep, I want to get to that final destination point. I want a huge team. I want to build something super profitable, really scalable. Here's the thing, no matter what your goal is, all goals are okay. There isn't one that's better than the other. And what I'd like you to do first is try to establish what kind of business you want. So let me give you these 3 types of business really quick. Now, being a solopreneur means exactly what you think. You're running a business solo. You're wearing all the hats and you're getting the jobs done. You might have someone that you contract now and then, or a few hours a day, or a couple of days a month, but basically you are the business. Without you, there really is no business. And that is how most of us start. And for some, this is exactly how we want to keep operating. But often, being a solopreneur can come with a host of challenges. You have to make time for all the tasks, and all the workload is on your shoulders. You can really face issues when it comes to scaling your growth and what you offer, because one person can only do so much, right? You might not have enough time or enough money, and your marketing might end up being a little bit ad hoc, which is going to give you ad hoc results. And burnout can be really common with solopreneurs. You're in charge of pitching, you're in charge of delivering on what you pitch, and while you're working on background things, nothing new is coming in. Right? While you're delivering what you sold, you can't also be focused on bringing in new business because you can't be everywhere at once. But hey, maybe you're a really highly paid consultant, or you have some big specialty. Maybe you're a lawyer. Maybe you are, a content creator. Maybe you are a trainer. Whatever it is, and maybe this model of solopreneur, it really works for you. You might have someone do your books, or you might have an occasional virtual assistant, but really you are the business, and that's the way it's going to stay. You don't want to deal with the overhead, you don't want the hassle of having staff, and this is what you want to do. Then being a solopreneur is perfect for you. Now, if you're a micropreneur, that means that you have a small team. I like to say somewhere between 2 and about 15 staff. Makes you a micropreneur. That means you've got some reliable systems, reliable marketing, you have some plans. It might be a 90-day plan, it could be an annual plan. But ultimately, you're the decision maker. You might plug in some of the holes where staff don't deliver, but you are leveraged a lot of the time. You might have automated funnels. You might have multiple streams of income. You might have people with very clear roles doing a lot of the tasks that you maybe one day did, but you no longer do. So now you can focus on both working on the business, but you're also still probably working in the business. You're not having to deal with massive overhead or build an empire. You're not building a massive chain of retail outlets or multiple offices, but you do have some overhead. That's a micropreneur business. Then there's what we call an entrepreneurial business. And that is where you are more leveraged. You have lots of systems and processes that can handle the work, the hiccups, without you getting involved. And more than that, you have people. You have a second in charge. You have, managers. You have people who report to people who report to people, so that you focus on the bigger picture things. And so you might manage the higher level staff who then manage the other people. You're looking at the overall budgets and costs. You're understanding how to bring in new clients, and you're working at that strategic level, higher level relationships, that sort of thing. You get a little more choice about how you spend your time. The main thing is whether you want to have a solopreneur business, a micropreneur business, or an entrepreneur business, you get to choose which one. Right? You get to choose how in the weeds you want to be, how involved, how hands-on. Now, some women business owners love doing detail-oriented tasks. They love having their finger in every pie. Others say, hey, let me start this and then let it go. Give it to someone else to complete because I want to work 3 or 4 days a week. Whatever the goal is, it's important to be clear on what the goal is. So envision what the ultimate version of your business looks like. How involved are you? How many people are you okay with managing? How much profit do you ultimately want to pull in? How far do you want to go? How big do you want to grow? And once you're clear on that level that you'd like to get to, you can develop a clear plan for how you'd like to hire, who you'd like to hire, what kind of support you need, what kind of money you need to support that team, what skills you need. Now, I started as a solopreneur with a business partner, PJ, and we, after 2 years, we started to build a team. We ended up building a team of 45 people. At first, we were solopreneurs. It was just the 2 of us. Then we were micropreneurs, and then we grew to this entrepreneurial business. Now, wherever you are right now, you want to choose what is right for you. So I'll come back to that story in a minute. If you're in a spot right now where you don't have any employees or an official team, You can still have people around you who support you. It might be your bookkeeper, it might be a freelance designer or social media manager from Fiverr. It can also be the mentors you have or the networks you're a part of, the masterminds you belong to. So even if you don't have any hired employees, figuring out how to work with and lead people is still important. Now, let's talk about what happens when you actually put people on your team. When you get to that point where you know you're ready to grow, you know you're ready to bring on more team members because you can't do all the work yourself, then you want to be very strategically setting up a team around you. There's a great book called Buy Back Your Time, which is by Dan Martell, and he talks about the roles to hire first when you want to grow. And I may again circle back to that. But here's what I want you to know. There comes a point in every business owner's career where you have to realize that not only can't you do everything, but you shouldn't be doing everything. Should you be making your social images on Canva yourself, or should you get someone else to do that? Someone who can do it better, faster, whose hourly rate is less than what yours is, so that you can focus on big picture growth. Should you be taking hours to learn how to edit a video or a course that you're putting out, or should you just hire a video designer who can do it for you to free up your time? You need to do the high-level things in your business. This episode is called Stop Doing It All. And when you're looking at building a team, it's not just employees I'm talking about. It is about making sure that you are spending your time now, in the next 12 months, moving forward, doing the highest level things in your business. And I hear time and time again from women business owners, I don't have enough time in my week to get everything done. I'm time poor, I'm understaffed, I end up doing all the things myself. And even I don't know when to even think like a CEO when I have so many smaller tasks and have to keep doing the small things to keep the business running. This is where you have to learn how to prioritize and delegate. And that's where planning comes in. You have to plan for these things. What are the things that only you can do in your business? What are the high-level money-making tasks, the growth path, determining the trajectory that you're going to head in? There's a quote from a really great book. The author is David Allen, and the book is How to Get Things Done. And I love it. He says this. He says, you can do anything but not everything. I bet you could learn to edit that video or design all those social posts. You have the capacity to learn that and a whole lot of things, but you can't manage those tasks and the high-level tasks. So while you can do anything, as David Allen tells us, you cannot do everything, and you shouldn't be doing everything. So your team and your people, growing a team you trust, is really the only solution to this problem. Now, I want you to take a moment and answer these two questions for me. First, where is your business right now? Are you a solopreneur, a micropreneur, an entrepreneur? My guess is that, and it's an educated guess, that if you're listening to this show, you're likely to be a solopreneur or a micropreneur. And the question is, where do you want your business to be long term? Do you want to move from solo to micro and have some team support? Do you want to go from micro to full-scale entrepreneur so that you can have more freedom and more leverage? Think about where you would like to be. In 12 months' time, in 2 years' time, you get to choose. And while you're thinking about this, don't just think of it in terms of money and workload. I want you to also think about the lifestyle that you want, the goals that you have for long term, the values that you hold close, and determine how far along the path you want to go. Or are you A-okay with the type of business you have right now? And what we want can change over time. 20 years ago, I had that entrepreneurial business. I was more hungry then. I was excited about growing something really big and really successful. I wanted that. But now with HerBusiness, being a micropreneur suits me perfectly. Now that I've done the entrepreneur things, I've grown the multi-million-dollar businesses, I've lived that. Now I want to be part of a small team that still, is a great 7-figure business that's dedicated to educating and helping other women business owners. So at different times in my life, I fell into different categories. I wanted different things. One thing I know I'll probably never be is a solopreneur because I love having a team. I don't like working alone, doing all the tasks. I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm good at a few things. I'm really, really good at a few things. And so I need that leverage that a team brings so that I can stay in that position of looking at the business from a higher level. And I love being involved with my team and helping make the bigger decisions about our direction and our strategy. So you have to find what suits you, what suits your lifestyle, your goals for the foreseeable next stage in your life and your business. And the overall goal here is to stop doing everything yourself. Outsourcing when you can, not doing the stuff you hate to do or the stuff you're not good at. You want to move from being the doer in your business to being the leader in your business. And as I said, doesn't mean you have to be managing employees. It could be the people you outsource to, your suppliers. You want to be spending more time on your business than in your business. Like right now, listening to this podcast, you are working on your business, not just in it. So what is the very first step to take? If you're a solopreneur, maybe the first step is to hire a freelance virtual assistant or a bookkeeper. If you're a micropreneur, maybe it's getting clear on the roles of your staff, actually mapping out your organizational chart. I love doing this with members. Who does what job? What systems do you need? How can you start implementing a marketing funnel so that you don't have to be in client acquisition mode 24/7? If you're at that entrepreneurial level, maybe you need to implement some KPIs, some key performance indicators, and hire middle managers. Get yourself out of the business more. And you have to start thinking about transitioning your mindset. In my early years of being a boss, and I'm doing air quotes here, you could ask any of my employees, I wasn't great at managing people because I was inexperienced. I was very young and I just didn't have the education on how to manage and lead a team well. Now I have decades of experience under my belt, so I've learnt the hard way how to lead. And I believe that leading a team is about three things. It's about attracting the right team members around you. It's about managing those team members really well. And it's about knowing how to keep those team members in the long term. So how do you attract the right people to your business? How do you manage and lead those people? And how do you keep them around for the long haul? Now, before we get into the specifics for each of these pillars, I'd like to do a quick activity with you. It's called the 3 Lists of Freedom. I first came across it in a book by Chris Ducker. I will put the details in our show notes because it's a great book. And this exercise is called the 3 Lists of Freedom. So what you need to do is you need to pull out a piece of paper or pull up your notes app. If you're driving while you're listening to this, do this later, but maybe just make some mental notes. And I want you to have 3 columns. And in the first list, I want you to write down the things that you hate doing in your business, the tasks that take up your time, that irk you, that feed on your energy, the things that you would be happy to never do again. And I'm going to give you 30 seconds or so to think about this while I give a couple of examples. So for me, I hate filming myself for social media. It is not fun for me. I hate scheduling the posts. It's something I really dread doing. I hate trying to get into Canva and do those images. That's just not what vibes me up, right? Doing this, talking to you, teaching, connecting with our members, that is what gives me energy. And so the other thing that I don't love is I don't love working in spreadsheets. I can figure out and I can make my way around a good spreadsheet, but I don't like to create them, not at all. So what is it for you? Maybe it's writing emails, maybe it's blogging, maybe it's cold calling, maybe it's dealing with technology. These are the things that mess with your head, that take more time than they need to, the things that end up at the bottom of your list, constantly being pushed off, and then you feel guilty for not doing them. So put those things in that first column. This is the list of the things that you hate doing. These might be some of the things that you can outsource first when you're ready to do that. Now we want a second column. So we want a second column, or if you're taking note mentally, then this is a second category. What are the things that you can't do? Now, these are the things that you likely try to do yourself, but it's not your area of expertise. Maybe you tinker around in Canva, but end up making something that haunts the dreams of a graphic designer. That would be me. Maybe you give video editing a go, but end up leaving a dozen ums, hums, and ahs in there. Or the lighting's terrible, or something's just not working. Maybe you decide to edit a headline on your website and somehow end up deleting an entire page. Honestly, web designers are miracle workers. Do not let me into the back end of your website. Just don't do it, ever. So what is it for you? We hired them. So don't be embarrassed. None of us can be good at everything. I'm surprised my team even gives me access to our Canva account, really. So be honest with yourself. These are the things that you can't do as hard as you might try. Maybe it's budgets for you, or graphics, or web things, or writing your content. These are all important things that you need, though, for someone to do in your business, but you're wasting your precious time trying to figure them out for yourself. I want you to get out of that self-employed mindset and start thinking like a business owner. I want you to stop doing it all. It's such a better use of your time and energy to do the things that you are good at and to outsource the things that you can't do well. So now we're up to our third and final column, the last column. It's the things that you shouldn't do. You can do them, sure. You're competent, maybe even great at them, but they're not in your zone of genius. They're not high level. They're not where you should be putting your energy. And what I mean by zone of genius is these are the things that only you can do in your business. And this term comes from a great book called The Big Leap. Again, I'm making a note of that and I'll put a link to it in our show notes. That's not what this episode is about, but I wanted to give you the reference for this idea of working in your zone of genius. So, what are the things that you shouldn't be doing? Write them down. Maybe it's bookkeeping. You can do it, but you don't need to be doing it when it takes up a lot of time. Or maybe it's admin, or maybe it's marketing, or scheduling, or project management. Maybe it's copywriting. Maybe it's cleaning your physical office space. Now, when you've got these three lists, the things you hate doing, the things you can't do, and the things you shouldn't do, it's time to move on. Some things might show up in more than one list. This is where you can start looking at, well, who do I need in my team? And remember, when I say team, I'm not talking employees. I'm talking contractors, suppliers, anyone who helps you run your business. So you want to add value and knowledge to your team. So it's only natural to, when we're talking about hiring, to bring in people who can do things you can't, right? We don't need copycats of ourselves. We need people who can do things that we can't do well, that we shouldn't be doing, that will do the things we hate doing and do them much better than we ever could, so that you can spend time on different things. That is the core of determining who you want to hire. And it's also a fun exercise to remind yourself just how much time you spend on tasks you hate. Right? I've done this exercise with our members and we laugh, but then we go, oh my gosh, how much time have I spent this year, this month, this week on stuff that, it takes me 10 times longer than anyone else to do. And by outsourcing these tasks, you're going to feel more in control. You're going to feel more happy. You're going to feel more fulfilled, and you're going to feel like you're running a business that you love, doing the things that you love to do. And that's the whole point of running a business. So I want to now end on the ways that you can attract, manage, and keep these magic workers who do the things that you don't want to do. So let's quickly talk about attracting the right people on your team. This goes beyond putting up an ad or a job post. It's about creating a business and a culture that people want to be a part of. So ask yourself, what kind of values does my business represent? What makes my business an exciting and fulfilling place to work? What type of person would thrive here and help us grow while also growing themselves? And you want to be clear about the role you are hiring for. No, don't just look for someone who can help out. Look for someone who can fill a specific gap and take ownership of a particular part of your business. Now, when you are hiring, again, if this is not an area of expertise for you, then get help, because it's far more expensive to hire incorrectly 3 times than to hire correctly 1 time, because you've got expert help. So writing job descriptions, outlining responsibilities, expectations, the skills required, they're all things you're going to need, and only you can do that. But you can find templates and resources, and we have all sorts of things inside of our membership to help women do this part of the hiring process. Now, here's a tip. Don't be afraid to hire people smarter or more skilled than you in certain areas. Like we talked about earlier, you want to do that. You want to fill the skill or knowledge gaps that are currently hindering your growth, that are having you be the bottleneck. That's how you create a team that lifts your business higher. Now, once you've attracted the right people, the next step, and of course I'm going over these things very quickly because my main purpose of this episode is to have you think about stopping doing all the things. But you've attracted the right people, it doesn't end there, right? They signed on the dotted line, they've got their desk or their virtual desk. That's not where it stops. Managing them effectively is really where it's at. And I could do a whole podcast on that, and I probably will. There are books dedicated to this topic, masterclasses, courses, all about leadership and management. But here's the thing. In my experience, it's not just theory. You definitely want to look up some of those things. It's about the actually really wanting to be a good leader, really wanting to be a great communicator, really wanting your people to win. And a lot of small business owners struggle because managing people is a skill. And like any skill, it takes time and practice. I was not a great people manager when I started my business. And I used to justify it by saying, I didn't get into business to manage people. I get in business to, grow the business, to do the marketing, etc. And it was just an out. I really needed to learn how to work with people. And that skill that I've developed has been so useful, not only with my immediate team, but with the suppliers we work with contractors, with volunteers, with interns, with all sorts of people that we get to work with. So it's not possible to talk about all the aspects of what we're talking about now, but I want to review a few of the basic areas. And the first is communication. Clear, open communication is the foundation of good management. Setting expectations early, providing regular feedback, onboarding. There's episodes here on the show, if you go back, all about onboarding and how to onboard well. Making sure people are comfortable finding answers to the questions and concerns that they have. The second is to really think about, so first is communication, second is think about getting your delegation process down. Decide what it is that you're going to leverage to someone else. Let go of the need to do everything yourself and set up a system where your team knows what they're responsible for. And your team is going to be happier and more fulfilled by knowing the specifics of what they need to do. And it will take the responsibility off of you to be constantly following up on things. And once you have that system in place, you then have to trust your team to handle tasks and resist the urge to micromanage. Delegation not only frees up your time, it also empowers your team to take ownership of their roles. And I know there can be a process to get there, but that's exactly what we help people with all day, every day inside of the HerBusiness community. The third tip I want to give you here is for you to have the support and development of your team in mind. Invest in your team's growth. Care about their progress. Help them upskill. I always say to people, it's like I want you, the day that you leave, to be more qualified, more skilled, a better employee, better at your craft than when you joined. And so if they want to take on a bigger role in the business, that's amazing. If they don't want to, then they should still have the support they need to do their job well. And anytime opportunities arrive to provide training or mentorship or skill development or include them in decision-making processes, really take advantage of that. It goes a long way. And it doesn't mean you need to pay for these resources. There's lots of free resources to send your team to webinars, to get them to watch online training, stuff that you might develop, tools that they may want to up their skills in. So don't worry if you don't have a training and development budget. There's lots that you can do from your own knowledge, but also from what's available out there. Now, you don't have to be a perfect leader, but you do need to stop doing it all. The goal here is definitely progress over perfection and really taking small steps to becoming the kind of leader that you would have wanted to work for. So that's the attracting. Now let's talk about the keeping. Sorry, that's the managing. Let's talk about keeping. Retention is the final piece of this puzzle. A revolving door of team members is costly, it's disruptive, so it's really important to create an environment where people feel motivated to stay. And there's a number of ways that you can do this. But first and foremost, recognize your team's accomplishments. Acknowledge their efforts and celebrate their successes. No one gets it right all the time, but big and small successes really should be celebrated, yours and theirs. And a simple thank you or public recognition can go such a long way in making people feel appreciated. And then respect their work-life balance, right? You want to encourage a healthy work-life balance for yourself and for your team. Now, these days, the lines are blurred sometimes around, especially with virtual team members. But you want to have clear boundaries. And this is something I find the mistake people make, especially when they're hiring the first virtual assistant and the agreement is something like, well, I'm going to do 20 hours sometime this week. You're going to get more productivity and happiness out of someone if they know that those 20 hours are 5 hours, 4 days a week. That's when you expect them to be there. That's when the tasks are going to be done. It makes the relationship easier for you than them. So tighter agreements and clear expectations are going to go a long way. And then, again, just making sure that you remember that your team isn't there just to do tasks for you. They're humans having experiences. They have children, they have families, they have loved ones, they have interests. So we can be in a team meeting and someone's talking about the fact that they were taking photographs of the moon on the weekend, or that they were at a basketball game, or that they were preparing for a marathon, or that they ran on the beach. We have quite an interest in fitness on our team, as you can tell from what I'm saying. Or that their new cat is like tearing up the house, or whatever it is. And so make sure you have those moments where you get to know a little more about your team members. And keep in mind that people want to progress and grow. Some people are more ambitious than others. That's fine. But we all want to feel like we're growing and learning. So even if you don't have a whole lot of roles and your place of work isn't a place where someone can go up the ladder, they can still learn and grow with you, right? They can grow their skills. They can grow their self-awareness. They can grow their mindset. And so just think about that as you are building a team that you need, right? Give them the things that you would want for yourself. There's a whole lot in this episode. We could do the breakaway episodes. You can write to me at podcast@herbusiness.com if I mentioned anything you think, Susie, please do an episode on that. So just write to me at podcast@herbusiness.com. And I could talk forever about planning for growth, and growing your team and your people are just a part of that. And so I'd love to know what thoughts this episode sparked for you, and also some of the tasks that you might hate doing or can't do or shouldn't be doing. Really do that exercise. It's very, very quick, and we get a realization of, hey, that's where I should start. That's what I should start to leverage. So I know stepping into the role of leader can be overwhelming, and people avoid it. They're like, I don't want team, I don't want the hassle, but it can be one of the most rewarding parts of having a business. When you build a team that aligns with your vision, you are no longer carrying the weight of the business on your own. Instead, you're leading a group of people who are just as passionate many times about your mission and your vision as you are. So I invite you to take that step today, whether that's hiring a virtual assistant or delegating a task that you've been procrastinating on, or just writing the list of things that you don't want to do anymore. Every small action brings you closer to the business and the life that you've dreamed of, why you're doing this in the first place. And if you want to be part of a community of women business owners dedicated to growing their businesses and developing the lives that they love, then grab a spot on the Her Business Network waitlist now. We aren't open right now for members, but getting on the waitlist, you'll be the first to know when we do open up spots. And we have thousands, literally, of resources for women business owners, like live strategy sessions, networking events, masterclasses, PDF downloads, worksheets, cheat sheets, even retreats that bring networkers together from around the globe. And you'll find the link to join the Her Business waitlist over in the show notes page, which is at herbusiness.com/286. I love doing this show for you. I appreciate you listening and sharing the show with your friends. And as I said, you can write to me at podcast@herbusiness.com, or do me a favor and leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. It is the big mother as it relates to podcasts. We want to grow this show. We want to reach more women. And so if you enjoyed this show, leave us a rating or review. And here's what I'll do. I will give you and your business a shout out. And I'm going to shout out Sonia Pototsky Raymond. She's called the Search Queen, and she does lead generation strategies for salon owners. And Sonia, if you're listening, I want to say thank you so much for listening to episode 284. That episode was called 5 CEO Secrets That Will Grow Your Business and Give You Your Time Back. And she said that she listened, and she said this is such an important conversation around defining success and striving for balance. And it totally is. So thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next time right here on the Her Business Podcast. If you don't already subscribe, be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button wherever you are listening. Bye for now.